Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Sporty's latest webinar on our pilot training courses and what's new for 2024. Got a lot of exciting things to cover today. A little bit about me first, and actually before that, even just some housekeeping items. This presentation is being recorded, so if you miss something or have to step out, you'll be able to check it out later. It'll be on Sporty's YouTube channel, as well as our blog site, flighttrainingcentral.com, where we post lots of flight training articles, videos, and helpful tips for pilots and student pilots in the flight training process. So again, you'll find that up tomorrow. Again, easiest place is Sporty's YouTube channel or flighttrainingcentral.com. My name is Bret Koebbe. I'm a Senior Vice President here at Sporty's, primarily responsible for course development, so the products I'm going to be reviewing today. Been a pilot since 2000, actually went through the pilot training program at Sporty's at our flight school here. Did some instruction for about 4 or 5 years and continued to fly today as an ATP in a corporate flight department. And I do some stage check work at our flight school and also enjoy flying for fun in aircraft like a Cessna 182 and Piper Aztec. So flying is an everyday part of my life, and I live here at the airport. That's a picture of our flight line and main headquarters at Sporty's here at the Claremont County Airport. Quick overview of what we're going to cover: an intro to Sporty's courses for those new to the program, what we offer and how you can get into that. Why use a personal study course? I want to kind of talk about some of the benefits from you, the student, and then also how it helps you in your flight school environment with your instructor, and how the modernization of this technology really does improve the efficiency and quality of your training, regardless of which flight school you're at. Of course, the main feature and topic is what's new in our 2024 courses. And I'm going to do a live demo for most of this, so I'm going to show at the end some tips and tricks, features that have been in the course for a little bit that maybe you didn't know about to help you get the most out of the course. In your GoToWebinar portal, you'll have a question section. Feel free to ask questions there. A colleague of mine is on the webinar here, Chris Clark, who will be able to answer those, and he will also relay any at the end to cover with the group that may apply to everyone here. So a little background: Sporty's has been in the flight training and really, pilot training business since the 1960s, and we've modernized significantly. It was initially done as in-person training in the 60s and 70s, evolved into VHS training, videotape, for those that know what that is, in the 1980s and 1990s, eventually DVD, and then fast forward to today, where we can make use of the latest and greatest technology and online course delivery, mobile apps, smart TV apps, and really do a great job with the video quality as well. Able to shoot 4K video in and around airplanes, 3D animations, interactivity, and a full test prep functionality as well that we're able to provide to student pilots. And that ranges again from somebody starting as a student pilot working on a private certificate up through instrument rating, and then we have courseware all the way through commercial pilot training as well. So a full suite of products there for the pro pilot, oriented pilot that's looking to fly and get their commercial certificate and eventually go on to the airlines or another professional business. Today, we're going to primarily focus on the new features in the Learn to Fly course and instrument rating course, and that's what I'll be demoing throughout the program. So a couple key features, just as for those that are new to the product, what sets us apart from other products out there. The core of the courseware is 15 hours of 4K and HD video training. This is shot in and around airplanes. We're at an airport. We actively fly. We have a fleet of 21 Cessna aircraft here. So when we want to go out and illustrate the latest flight training techniques, flight maneuvers, we get to the airplane. We want to show you how the procedures work, what you're going to look and see and feel in your airplane. So, it's not a lot of PowerPoint, not a lot of talking heads, but it's actually in the airplane, supplemented with 3D visuals and 2D graphics when necessary. Complete test prep for the FAA Knowledge Test, a flight maneuvers guide to get you ready for all the flight maneuvers that you'll be practicing with your instructor, a full FAA handbook library and federal aviation regulations, which I'll show you some of the new features there in the demo. Several flight school integrations. We work with Flight Schedule Pro. So if your flight school is using Flight Schedule Pro on a Sporty syllabus, there's direct connections back from that software to the Sporty's courseware. And something really helpful for today and our on-the-go style of learning is that the course is delivered online through a web browser. Of course, that's kind of standard, but also through iOS apps, iPhone, iPad, Android. Allows you to study on your phone here and there when you're on the go, maybe not in front of a computer, but you want to practice some test prep questions or watch another video lesson. and smart TV apps as well. All the current technology in terms of Apple TV, Roku, we do Fire TV, Google TV, so all the latest smart TV platforms. That's a really great way to watch the 4K video lessons on the big screen at home. And the course includes lifetime updates. So you buy it once and you get it forever, and you get all the updates along the way. And as we're talking here, the title of the presentation is 2024 courses. We've been doing these kind of model year releases since probably 2018. So if you bought the course in 2018, you've gotten every update since then, in both the technology and the content updates. So really good value, not just as you do your initial pilot training, but it's a great tool to stay active and stay current to return to later on as you fly as a private pilot, instrument pilot, et cetera. So let's talk about a couple key terms when it comes to training courses that are thrown around. We often hear about ground school, and that's what comes to mind if you were in a classroom or working one-on-one with your instructor to learn about the academic subjects like aerodynamics or sectional charts, airspace, aeromedical factors. That's all well covered in detail in our pilot training courses. Again, I think what really separates this product apart is the flight training aspect, and that you're going to go up and see in the airplane the controls, the airport environment, how to deal with real world scenarios, the flight training aspect. So it's not just preparing you for ground school, but it's also preparing you for all of your flight lessons. And I think the biggest concern, and really should be unfounded because the knowledge test isn't really that big a deal, and you'll find it won't be when you prepare for it. But there are full written test prep features here as well to prepare you for the knowledge test. We've added some new features there as well that I'll highlight in the demo. But complete written test prep is a part of the program. And as you get towards the end, towards the final check with the FAA designated pilot examiner or your final stage check at your flight school, full checkride prep features as well to get you ready for that part of it. And again, that's all included. It's all one package. There's not different pieces to get. If you're already in the course, hopefully you've had some time to explore a little bit. But again, I'll show you some of that coming up here shortly. So why consider a personal study course like this? Again, it's going to bring some of those challenging concepts to life. A lot of this is theory and abstract, as we talk about aerodynamics and airflow. And reading a book and just seeing static pictures doesn't do it justice. That's where this course really excels with, again, 3D animations and kind of breaking down these complex subjects into more understandable pieces and how it really relates to flying and really bringing that all together. The biggest thing to me as an instructor, again, I've been using these courses with my students since the 2000s, initially when they were on VHS tape, and that was really a challenge to get your students to go home and put a tape in and sit in front of a tube TV and go through 14 tapes. Now there's no excuse, obviously, with online delivery and mobile apps. But what this allows you to do is be better prepared for every single flight lesson at the airport. And today, with the prices of rentals and flight instructors, a 2-hour lesson can cost over $400 just for one lesson as you work towards your training. And again, the cost of these courses are $299. So you can really see the value proposition there to get you ready for your training, to help you get to your private certificate as efficiently as possible. But at the same time, you're better prepared along the way because you're supplementing what you're doing with your instructor, with your own ground training, your own flight training at your own pace with your own home study course. So the time that you spend with your instructor is so much more meaningful. You're not going over the basics, but you've already had that kind of foundational aspect ready based on your home study. And then you can really focus on what matters at the flight school, which is getting out in the airplane, getting out in the practice area, flying across countries, and getting that hands-on experience, building on what you learned from this course. And again, the self-study for the knowledge test. Before programs like this, you used to sit down with your instructor and go through questions and go through topics and review all that. At this point, 95% of your preparation is really done on your own, and your instructor will kind of gauge your readiness. And in fact, a lot of students on the advanced side of things, or I should say accelerated, may not even meet with their instructor before they take their knowledge test. A lot of accelerated programs put this 100% on the student, and you could do all of this with a course like this here at Sporty's to solo and prepare for that knowledge test all on your own, studying practice test questions. And as I'll talk about, the course will actually give you the endorsement to take the knowledge test at an FAA facility. Now, a lot of concern comes up in discussion about how do we teach or what's the best approach to teach today's pilots where the guidance from the FAA, which is the Airman Certification Standards, requires the studying and knowledge of some of the foundational skills. So E6B, using that flight computer, using a paper chart, making a nav log. So you have that on one side of the equation, which is the way we all learned 20 years ago and didn't have all the current iPad apps that automated a lot of all that. And on the other side of that, you have the modern technology in most of the airplanes, whether it's the latest autopilots, the digital flight screens, digital flight control systems, and then the portable products that we bring into the cockpit, like the iPad with an app like ForeFlight, ADSB weather, traffic, all fantastic products and that really automate and make our flying so much safer. So how do we balance, the traditional foundational skills with the new technology? And the answer is the course like this, we do both. So you're still going to learn how to do the basics of working with a sectional chart, how to plan a trip, how to make navlog entries, how to work with your E6B flight computer, which are not only important skills to learn as a pilot, to learn how everything works, you're also going to need the skills on the FAA Knowledge Test. So really two parts there. But we don't overlook the modern technology. So you're going to learn how to use your iPad for flight, the latest ADSB weather, which is data link weather, so that you can see real-time or near real-time radar imagery and text weather and your flying. How to use digital flight instruments, that kind of thing. So it's kind of the best of both worlds, and we approach it that way because that's how we teach it here at Sporty's Academy, and we want to convey that philosophy in our training courses as well. Another big component is flight instructor progress monitoring. So your flight instructor isn't just going to put all this on you and say, hey, go learn on the course, good luck, and let me know when your knowledge test is completed. It's important that you bring your CFI into the training process. And you can do that by sharing your progress with your instructor, which they can access through our another side of the course, which is Sporty's Flight Instructor Portal. There, they'll be able to monitor your video training progress, lesson completion status, test preparation status. Again, allows them to see where you're at and basically can coordinate your flight training at the airport accordingly. And I'll show you how to do that once we get into the demo. But again, a key point there, that this isn't just 100% on you as a student, but also for your instructor. So as I mentioned, kind of the end goal of the program in itself, the completion standard is to complete all the video lessons, earn 2 80% practice test scores in the knowledge test, and that will allow you to generate a completion certificate, which is your knowledge test endorsement. It allows you to go to the FAA testing facility, which is run by PSI these days, and take your knowledge test. Okay, so let's switch gears here. Let's jump into the actual course itself and talk about some of these new features that I've been mentioning. All right, so when you log into your course, here we're on the online version at sportys.com/mycourses. This is your dashboard, your portal. For those that have been in the program, this should look very familiar to you. For this demo today, I'm going to be using the Learn to Fly course, but everything that I'm talking about or we'll talk about relates also to the instrument rating course and to the commercial pilot course. But let's launch into the Learn to Fly course, which by default, you'll see your video training lessons. The way this is broken down is into 6 main chapters, and then each has bite-sized pieces to further break down the material. And as a general flow, my recommendation if you're new to the program is to go through this lesson by lesson. So start in chapter 1, go through all those lessons onto chapter 2, so on and so forth. Now, as you get into a lesson, we're going to jump into one of the newer sections here on airport signs and markings as our example. The core training component is video training. So you're going to want to start here in the video and go ahead and play that. Watch that lesson start to finish. Again, this is a very graphic intensive section, so you're going to see the airport environment, all the signs and markings, basically how to navigate the airport environment. Watch that, like I said, start to finish. There are subtitles available, so you can watch the video with English subtitles. You can also change the video resolution. Very important here. By default, it's going to go up to the highest resolution that your network supports. But if you want to make sure you're getting the latest 4K video, you can come in here and select that 2160p option, which is the 4K video quality. If you're on a slower network, it should take care of itself, but you could always pick a lower resolution there as well. After you watch the video, there are section notes here, so you can go ahead and read that for the key highlights of what was in that particular lesson. After that, I suggest going into the review quiz, which is actually questions here based on that particular lesson. What's nice here is we can go ahead and click on an answer. We'll get real-time feedback, but the actual helpful part is to click the play explanation button. That'll actually take you to the section of the video that covers where that content was developed. So we don't do written explanations here, but we do a video explanation. So if you are not familiar with why the answer is correct or incorrect, go ahead and use that play explanation button to jump right to that section in the video. New feature for 2024 are the interactive scenarios. You're going to find these for about 30 of the lessons throughout the course where applicable. This allows you to go ahead and practice and really test your knowledge with a more visual and engaging method of what you learned in that video lesson. So there's various types. This one is a quiz type is what I call it, kind of a interactive video quiz. So identify the airport sign. It's a question mark here. We want to drag that over. If it's incorrect, you'll get real-time feedback on that. In this case, it's an ILS critical area, so I'm going to take the ILS sign, drop it on there, and that's the correct answer. We'll get an explanation. Go on to the next question. Again, what sign should we expect to see in the question mark? I can drag that onto the sign. Again, there's your explanation about that. So a great way, again, to put into practice on these ground training topics and flight maneuvers as well, to really, again, emphasize the key points of that lesson. Another new feature we added this year is the Smart Notes feature, which you can access here from the bottom right. Smart Notes allows you to create a series of customized notes that are easily accessible at all times. For those that have been using the course in the past, you may remember we had a very basic notes feature. This takes it to the next level to allow you to do custom formatting. But a nice part when you're in a video lesson is that when you create the note, which is this button right here, it's going to include a link back to that video. So let's say I have a question on, why this sign is in this particular location. I can make a note here, taxiway sign. What if there are two taxiways at the same intersection? So this might be a question you want to research later, say for your instructor, whatever it might be. But what you saw here, when I created the note, this was automatically added to it, that note there. So I can jump back and use this link at any time to go back to that video lesson. So a very powerful feature there to keep track of your notes as they relate to your training content. You can make as many notes as you want. Just use the plus button here. And then again, your editing tools are at the bottom to make any kind of formatting or whatever it might be. You can paste images in here as well, if that helps for whatever the purpose of your notes are in that case. And not new, but I want to point it out because it's a very important part of the course as it relates to related content. All the video lessons and scripting and scenarios are all custom from Sporty's, but there's a lot of FAA reference materials out there that are very helpful. And you're not going to sit down and just read the airplane flying handbook or the pilot's handbook of aeronautical knowledge cover to cover. But there are times when you may find content or topics that you want to learn more about. And every single lesson has the relevant chapters of those books linked to that lesson. So I can come in here to this FAA book, chapter 14, as it relates to the airport environment. It's going to go ahead and load that on the screen here and actually take you right to the page of that manual. So in this case, airport operations. So if you want to read more from the FAA perspective, which is helpful at times, again, find more detail, find some different explanations of the topics, that's a great resource. And it's not just books either. We have other helpful guides, like in this case, the airport signs and markings. Another way to just to go and study all the details of the content in that lesson. I'm gonna switch over, actually, let's look at one more thing here at video training. So I mentioned all the interactive scenarios, about 28, 29 of those are new in here. We also group them all as a supplemental chapter here at the end of video training. So if you go to the end of all your video chapters and pick on the interactive scenarios, you can select any one of those and go right to it. So maybe if you're near completing your course or part of the way through it, it's a great way to come back and check those and test your knowledge. Some of these are simulators, so they're just really no goal in mind, just a way to practice learning your skills. So a VR simulator here to learn more about how navigation works. A new one we just added a couple months ago is a weight and balance tool. And this isn't for actually doing your weight and balance, but it's a way to learn how the concept works. And what you can do essentially is take this airplane and take your pilot and move it into position. and see how that actually affects the loading of the airplane, both from the table view and the math problem, as well as the moment chart or the arm chart. So if you can kind of demonstrate to yourself, if I put way too many people in this airplane, what happens? Well, we get way too heavy and we're out of the weight limit of the airplane. So you're not going to use this for, again, weight and balance purposes for an actual flight. That's a good way to help visualize and learn what the effects are of burning fuel over the course of a flight. How does it affect my center of gravity? Or what's the effect of a 25-pound bag in the back do? And how that really affects the moment of the airplane being so far back behind the center of gravity. So not a quiz, but just a good way to learn about that. Some of these are just simulators to learn some of the basic concepts, like a visual approach slope indicator, or VASI, which allows you to look at a runway and go ahead and pick and see what the lights look like based on your pitch attitude or your glide angle to the runway. So again, not really a goal or a quiz here, but just a way to visualize in the airport environment how different scenes and training topics look. So spend some time here, check it out. This are in the Learn to Fly course on the private pilot training side, as well as the instrument rating course and the commercial pilot course as they relate to more advanced topics. So let's talk about test prep for a minute. This is a very powerful tool where you can come in and study customized sessions. You can take FAA practice tests. What I want to highlight here, and this screen is, if you've been in this component before, should look very familiar, where you can study specific categories of questions, random questions, do a smart study session to create a session based on your weakest performing areas. Any questions you marked, you can return to. Questions you answered incorrectly, or a search feature. So if there's a particular topic or question you may have saw in a practice test you want to review more of, you can come in here and search for keywords. But what I want to focus on is the category layout, because this changed this year. We recategorized all 1,000 questions to line up with the Airman Certification Standards. So all the keywords may look very similar. It's the same general concept, but the knowledge test is predicated on the guidance of the Airman Certification Standards, the ACS. So these big, bold topics here are the areas of operation. The individual items are the tasks within an area of operation. So if you're going through your ACS, this will look very familiar to you. A big area of emphasis recently from FAA, which I think is a good thing, is they are creating new questions on more practical topics and less abstract or rote memorization questions. So a lot of the questions we've been seeing and have added relate to, for example, approach and landing, which is a very important topic, and practical too. So as you study these, you're not just memorizing questions for a test, but these general concepts apply to your everyday flying as well. Now, to help keep up with that, because we're always working on keeping this database up to date with the latest and greatest that is could be on your actual FAA test. And because the FAA doesn't actually publish all the questions, that's not available to any test prep provider, we rely on feedback from our students at our flight school, as well as course users, to keep us updated on what they're seeing on the test. And to help keep you updated with that, we've added this new inbox feature up here through this bell icon. And this is a way for us to send you information related to updates, feature updates, content updates, a new video. Here's an example here where we did our last batch of new test prep questions. I think this was last month we did this. And you can click on the button. It's going to load a PDF in your course of particular questions that we've added to the test prep component. So I kind of call these areas of emphasis if I'm studying. Obviously, we want to go through all 1,000 questions and all the categories, but these would be the final ones I would check just to make sure I did catch wind of these and study these throughout the training. So keep an eye on that bell icon at the top up there during your training in the course to keep up with what's new in the course and as we add content to it. That notification feature is also available in your iOS app as well, on the iPhone and iPad app. But as we add new technology features, we'll add training tips here, all kinds of different ways to keep you updated. And that's been a common request from students in this program over the years is how can I know about what's new? And this is a great way for us to tackle that problem and keep all the students in the course updated with what's going on there. All right, so I'm going to jump over next to the FAA Handbook section. Here's where you're going to find all your digital reference materials. So again, the books we talked about earlier, like the Airplane Flying Handbook, the Pilot's Handbook of Aeronautical Knowledge, several advisory circulars, a great way to stay up to date and read some of that supplemental content. We added last year a digital federal aviation regulation guide here. Many pilots know this from the book that we all purchase as student pilots. But I think get to know this feature because we've added some really helpful things here on the digital side that can make this a lot more easy to work through and study. So by default, you're going to find all the different parts. Part 61 is in there, of course, part 91. And they're all broken down by the individual subjects. And that's pretty overwhelming to just say, I want to go read the regulations. That's never a good idea, and you won't stay awake for very long. But what you can do is use the search feature here to search for particular regulations. So if you are doing a ground topic with your instructor or in the course, and you want to know more about Class B, I search for that keyword, Class B, and it takes us to that regulation. You can also bookmark a regulation and kind of make your own basically customized version based on what's important to you. And you do that by using this bookmark button up here at the top. Select that, you'll see a little blue flag by that regulation. And anytime you can use the show bookmarks button to jump right back to the regulation you bookmarked. So again, a great way to kind of build your own custom regs that are pertinent to you and your type of flying as a student pilot, instrument pilot, commercial pilot, whatever it may be. Another feature we added is a smart filtering option. Again, the regulations, thousands of pages that probably 90% don't apply to most student or private pilots. And to help with that, we've filtered them or allow you to filter based on what applies to me as a private pilot, for example. So if that's my course of study, a student pilot working towards a private certificate, come in here and select that filter private pilot option. And then you can jump right in, and not only just the parts are filtered, but within a part, those are filtered as well. So it's going to leave out all the airline regulations and how many fire extinguishers do I need on a Boeing 737 and what happens when I'm flying over the Atlantic Ocean. Those things don't really apply to you as a private pilot. And it kind of gets cluttered as you go through what really does matter. So if I did talk to a student and was suggesting to, study the regulations or review in terms of getting ready for a stage check or a check ride, this is a great way to do that by filtering by your certificate. And we've done that here for instrument and commercial pilot as well. Okay, with that, I want to hit a couple tips related to how to make the most of your course usage here with you or your instructor and your self-preparation. As I mentioned, you can share your progress with your flight instructor, and you'll do that here with the share progress with my CFI button at the bottom left. Once you press that, you can go ahead and then use the connect with instructor option, which is right here. Enter your flight instructor's email address. They will then receive an email with a notification that you want to share your progress. And if they already have a Sporty's account in the CFI portal, they will then be able to link up with you automatically and see your progress going forward. If they don't, they'll get instructions on how to create a Sporty CFI account, which then will again allow them to link up and view your progress. Another overlooked feature I see a lot is in the resources section. This can help out a lot with your own training documents. So in the resources section, we have things like the quick start guide, our training course outline, pre-solo exam, various resources that you'll need along the way during your training. But the bottom here, you can also upload your own documents in the My Documents section. Just click the upload button. As long as the PDF or image is less than 100 megabytes, it'll sync up here and always be accessible in your course. So a great way to put in maybe some of your flight school guidance or practice area guidance, specific procedures for your operation, that kind of thing. I like to put in avionics manuals. So as we get new avionics in our flight school airplanes, I like to put in those for the Garmin GPS units, the Garmin flight instruments, et cetera. But a great way to kind of customize the course to what you're doing. Another feature that gets overlooked is in the flight maneuvers section. And the flight maneuvers, for those that aren't familiar, is a way to prepare for each individual maneuver on a given lesson. So going out, for example, in the middle of your training, you might be doing some slow flight or stalls, power off stalls, power on stalls. But what you will find on the individual lesson, in addition to the video training and the step-by-step instructions to complete that lesson, is this flight maneuvers guide at the bottom. And this is a PDF that includes all of the all the flight maneuver content in one PDF. And so a lot of pilots like to have this maybe on their iPad in their pilot training app to go out and have that in the cockpit as a supplemental tool. The goal, obviously, as you get towards your check ride, is to be able to do all this on memory, set the airplane up, know your performance standards. But this is a kind of an all-in-one tool of the flight maneuvers guide in one location to be able to study and review that in one spot. Because obviously, it's not going to be as easy to pull up your web browser and your Cessna at 4,000 feet. So an offline version does that, make that much easier. The check ride prep section, this is where you're going to focus as you get ready for the actual FAA check ride. There are flashcards here to simulate the actual oral exam that you can kind of quiz yourself or quiz with another student pilot or flight instructor. A full video here from a designated pilot examiner on what the check ride's like, how to prepare for it, what some tips and tricks, that kind of thing is the title describes there. Most important thing that commonly gets overlooked is the interactive checklist, because as you approach the check ride and meet with the examiner, there's a lot on you and your instructor to help you prepare, but a lot of things you have to have ready. And these things get overlooked a lot, especially in the rush of the test and getting ready for it. So this allows you to basically put all your information here, all the pertinent information, a big checklist to make sure you have all the paperwork ready. And you can download that checklist to a PDF, which will have all your information filled out. I guarantee if you take this and present this to your DPEs during the introduction, they're going to be blown away by the organization there. We have a lot of pilots come into our school from other areas that meet with a designated pilot examiner just because we have a lot of meeting space and open areas, and they get turned away because they don't have all the requirements done ahead of time. So this can really save you that kind of hassle and that non-preparation or not knowing that you're prepared just for the basic paperwork ahead of time. And again, you're going to find that in the check ride prep section here, interactive checklist. My last tip, and then I'll get to a couple questions that came in, is to use all the platforms. So what does that mean? Again, your one-time purchase to the Sporty's course, whether it's a pilot training, learn to fly course, instrument course, commercial course, or any one of our 27 other courses that can be used for adding a multi-engine rating or tailwheel endorsement, is the pilot training app platforms. So again, by default, sportys.com/courses will get you into the online system. All the features are there, but you also have full access to the iPad and iPhone app. Go onto the iOS App Store on your device and search for pilot training, and then you'll have the app. Sign in with your account. All your progress will stay in sync. So if you take a practice test on your phone or online or on your Android phone, they all stay together in sync. So there's no worries about where you actually take the content or train with the program. It'll all stay together. And that goes for video training too. I know a lot of pilots that like to go through all the video training on their Apple TV at home on the big screen and then do their test prep on their iPhone. That's a lot more practical interface for them. Also have a CarPlay app. So if your car supports the CarPlay functionality, you can plug your iPhone in. That's all that's required, is have your iPhone with the pilot training app installed, and you'll be able to listen to the audio of the lessons. Of course, we can't play video in the car, and that wouldn't be safe or smart, and Apple doesn't allow that, but we do have all the audio transcripts and the voiceover accessible in the same menu system via CarPlay. So highly recommend you take advantage of that as well. Okay, with that, I'm going to wrap up. I appreciate everyone's time today. Again, if you're new to the program, sportys.com/courses is the place to check it out. I really enjoyed demoing the latest features. And again, stay tuned to your inbox in your course to look for great new features in 2024 as we prepare for future updates, new video content, new test prep content as well. And again, thank you for choosing Sporty's as your training provider. We're always accessible as well for support. You can reach out to our support team, which you'll find in your courseware as well, to get technical questions, content questions, and then also take advantage of our Ask a CFI feature to reach out to our flight instructors here if you have a specific content question. And again, those are all available in your course help menu. With that, I'm going to wrap up for today. Again, my name is Bret Koebbe with Sporty's. Thanks for attending, and best of luck with your pilot training. Have a good day.